Hi, my name is Lauren Kay, and welcome to The Games That Made Me. We started this podcast to look at the lives and stories of those who are working in the games industry by looking at the games that shaped our guests' futures. Today, we're joined by Abubakar Salim. Abu is an actor, game dev, producer, and founder of Surgent Studios, and they've just released their first game, Tales of Kenzera, Zao. So Abu, Kingdom Hearts. This was the first game that you had on your list. And honestly, it's one that I hold very close to my heart as well.
Amazing.
Pun intended. So I think everybody kind of has their own way of finding out about Kingdom Hearts. How did you find out about it originally?
So I remember this so strongly. It was in my bedroom. I had a bunk bed. Because if we had family round, we would share the bunk because lived in a small house. But I had my PlayStation and a TV that essentially my dad would put up and then take out because he didn't want a TV in my room.
Oh yeah.
And
that's dedication.
I mean, it was really good. I mean, like he let me play in the comfort of my own space, but he was like, "You ain't having a TV to play in the night because I know you." Literally. So anyway, I was playing my PlayStation in my room, and he'd brought this game from Blockbuster, this random game. Like, because again, this was at the time when you could rent games from Blockbuster, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was Kingdom Hearts, and I kind of looked at it like, this is weird. I have no idea what this is. Like, I don't know why you've got it for me, but I think he was. I can recall him saying something about Disney. I'm gonna say, like, I think he probably saw the Disney characters I love Disney. I'm a massive Disney fan.
Oh my gosh.
I think he was like, I think you'd like this.
This will be good.
This will be fine. You got Disney characters there. It's cool.
Exactly.
Cut to like be playing this game and being like, oh my God, the emotions.
I know.
It's the opening track. It's like the opening, like everything. Like, in fact, it's funny. The beginning of Tales of Kenzera Zao, the opening menu.
The title screen. I was going to say that.
Is paying homage to Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Because it was it had such an impact on me on an emotional level at the time. I don't know. It's always been there. It's always been there. And I again, I say this, like, if I probably played it today, I had no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
I'll be completely like honest. I'd be lost on it. But,
oh my gosh, yeah.
But I think it just hit me at such a time, this kid who essentially just wants to bring his friends back. He wants to just come back to normality.
Yeah.
But he's thrown into this quest. It's like, it was such an incredible piece of art.
It's one of my favorite stories to relive because it just feels so together and so like
it's unapologetically creative and emotional.
Yeah.
Like, it isn't trying to be cool.
No.
It isn't trying to be like, it doesn't feel like a zeitgeisty thing.
Yeah.
It feels like an honest game. And I think, like, that's what I really respect and rate about it. It's like when you put this piece on your TV and it feels like just unapologetically itself.
Yeah.
It's such a good feeling.
Yeah.
And it's such a good thing to kind of jump into. I think that's why I think, even a lot of Final Fantasy games are loved, because they just are.
Yeah.
And it's a respect not only to themselves, but also, a respect to the player in regards to being like, we know you like this.
Yeah.
So let's just dive into it.
Yeah.
We're not going to try and do too much or change too much,
Did you carry a lot of that when you were sort of thinking about the early concepts of Zao as well? This sort of like idea of being this sort of unapologetic person?
I mean, it's something that I've approached this industry in the same way that I've wanted to approach anything that I do, that I have some form of control over, which is just try and tell an honest rendition of what it is, right? Try and not put too much mind to voices and opinions and other people's thoughts, because ultimately everyone has an opinion, and that's totally right because it's from their experience. So as long as you can just tell your experience, or listen to your, try and be as honest to yourself as possible, people can tell honesty over anything else. That is really something that I wanted to reflect. The most of the games that I've played, the ones that have kind of resonated with me, I feel have had some form of honesty to it and some form of truth to it. And if I can deliver something like that in the pieces that we deliver, then I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you've spoken about in the past the fact that you have dyslexia, and like this was one of the first games that had voice acting in it.
Yeah.
Like how that sort of changed you.
It was amazing because it brought it to life.
Yeah.
It brought the whole experience to life. It made it feel like I was in the world more. You could feel the performances. You could hear the emotion. You didn't have to read it.
Oh my God, no. But I just swear, like I replay games like Final Fantasy VIII where I'm just like, I didn't remember reading that.
Right.
Like the plot points that I
just
completely
go ahead,
missed.
just go over your head, right? Yeah.
But like Kingdom Hearts is like, you felt everything. You knew everything.
Everything. Yeah, the music, the voice acting, just the gameplay. Yeah, man.
When you did Assassin's Creed as well, did that kind of feel like a really epic moment of I get to do this?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those moments where, again, it was just very terrifying because it's a franchise that I remember loving when it first came out, and being an avid fan every year, buying the next Assassin's Creed. Like that was my Christmas. Like it was like that was it, right?
Yeah.
So to be now in that franchise playing an assassin in it was terrifying because it's like, oh God, now people are gonna have an opinion on my assassin because I'm like, I like this assassin, but I don't like this assassin.
Yeah.
Now people are gonna be having that discourse with me.
Oh my gosh.
But it was that was another process where I was in my head thinking, I'm in the dream role right now.
Yeah.
I'm playing an assassin in an Assassin's Creed franchise, like the one I love. It's like playing, it's like being a massive fan of Iron Man and then being cast in a Marvel film of Iron Man. Like that feeling of like, this is for me,
Yeah.
So that was essentially what that experience was.
So now we just need a Kingdom Hearts character. We need a Kingdom Hearts character for you. Yeah,
we do.
Yeah.
You say that, and I'm just like,
that
would be amazing.
It's like instant Zal collaboration.
I'm telling you.
Yeah,
honestly, it's so funny.
He would fit so well in it.
Oh,
he would fit so well in
it's so funny you say that, and my heart was like, oh boy.
That's nice. but no, that would be
that would be dope.
We're manifesting it now. It's gonna happen. But moving on to your second game, which was World of Warcraft.
Oh, what a game.
Which, like, I always feel really envious of people who grew up with World of Warcraft, because I remember when it came out and like it was so spicy because obviously it's an online game.
Yeah.
And I just didn't ask my parents to help me to be able to experience it. For you, it's like, how did you first get into it? What compelled you to start on your journey?
Again, I think I saw this game I think it was like a Woolworths when they were around. And it was, it was just, it looked cool.
Yeah.
I thought it looked really awesome. And I was like, I asked my father, can I get this? He kind of looked at it and was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Bought it home, installed it in the PC and all that sort of thing. And again, our PC was in the living room. So again, it was kind of shared in a way between me and my father. My mother, not really, because my mother preferred going out and talking to friends.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
I know.
But I was it was in the living room, and I remember installing this game. It took ages to install.
Oh my
with
gosh!
all these different CDs.
Back in the day of
man,
like installing games like that.
With the music as well. Like it was cool. Anyway, and then I'm like okay, what's this? Make an account? What?
Yeah.
And then I realized that I now have to have this conversation with my father.
Oh no!
About the subscription.
Yeah.
I'm like paying this. So he's like looking at me like, oh God, that doesn't make
what
sense.
Have I done?
You've just bought a game
Yeah.
to pay for it even more.
Yep.
Anyway, He did, thank God, and he, it started my journey in World of Warcraft, and it was magical. I think the thing that World of Warcraft did for me was it opened my mind to the online community of gamers who. I had a few friends who played games or who liked the games. They'd come around, watch me play the N64 or the Mega Drive or whatever, and even family as well, right? But I don't think they had the love for it that I did. So I felt very isolated and alone on that front. You now are in an online world with other people who play games and who enjoy it as much as you do. It opens your world up.
Yeah.
So for me, it was, World of Warcraft was the first time I had online friends, played in guilds. Like it was really it was just really cool. And I think there was, there definitely was an instance where it was probably a bit too much. I'd finish school, come back, log in, play, and my mom and dad would be like, buddy, you got to get out.
You need to have a life outside of Warcraft.
Yeah, this is it. But what it also did was, though, it introduced me to the Warcraft story, the world, the lore.
Yeah.
And that I think that was funnily enough, that was my first love of big universes.
Yeah.
Of really cool, characters, history, stories.
Yeah, the lore.
Was just so amazing because it brought me, I played World of Warcraft first, then I went back to Warcraft 3, 2, and 1.
Gotcha.
And I was just in awe. I was just amazed at the depth and the history and everything. And I remember at the time, I was so I just wanted to be a Death Knight. You know what I mean? I was waiting for that class to come out. And, I think it came out later on down the line that, the Paladin can essentially champion themselves to be a Death Knight anyway. But I remember it was just so cool. Yeah. It was just so awesome. But again, I was just in love with the world of it all. I was in love with the level of detail. And I was really, again, sort of the community that came out of it was, from my experience, just incredibly cool and incredibly great. And it made me actually, funnily enough, I had a friend who lived next door, literally next door. I met him on World of Warcraft.
Oh, I love that.
And we played online, and I was like, and there was that kind of thing of
the Spider-Man. Oh.
Literally, honestly, and we were where, because I remember.
How did you find out? How did you find out?
So this is the thing. I remember being oh yeah, are you based in the UK? It's yeah, I'm based in out in the sticks of the countryside. I was oh. What
part?
What part?
I feel that.
Exactly, because I'm oh, so am I. He's oh, cool, yeah. I'm in in Wellingham City, and I was what? And there was that moment, obviously, of me being that kid of is this a trap? Is this what is this?
Is this somebody who's in the house?
And I was oh, cool. What school, do you go to? And he was oh, I go to this school. And I knew it was a different school to my school. So I was this guy's legit. So he ain't trying to kidnap me or anything.
Exactly. It's fine. We didn't get into the bad spot.
But what ended up essentially happening was, I told him I live near, this road.
Yeah.
Right? And he was no way.
Oh my God.
And it was literally that Spider-Man moment of are you? We are?
Oh.
And we'd be I'm going outside. And we go outside our door. And I'd walk outside the door, and he'd walk outside, and we'd look, and we'd be oh my God.
That's so beautiful, though.
And he was, honestly, it's funny actually, we still talk, but it was that whole thing of our friendship blossomed because of online play.
Yeah.
And it was.
And you never would have known.
Never would have known.
No.
Never would have known. Because again, it's that whole thing of most people who are playing outside were either playing football or playing in the park.
Yeah.
That's fine. I used to play as well, but I didn't really hang outside.
It's not a thing where you can kind of get in.
And different school as well. And honestly, that friendship, it blossomed then because we were playing Pokemon all the time and trading with Pokemon and stuff. We would collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards and play with Yu-Gi-Oh. It was I'd found someone who appreciated and loved games and the world, these worlds, as much as I did, and it came from World of Warcraft.
Oh, that's so nice. It must have been so nice for your parents as well, just like
Oh,
somebody who's like close by. Because I feel that
Yeah.
with me, like with my girls, is like finding people who are like-minded.
Yes.
It's like so.
It's hard, right?
It's so hard.
It really is hard, especially
Yeah.
with now there are so many opinions and ideas
gosh,
and
yeah.
thoughts. It's like, it's very hard. And like, you know, whereas with me and my mate, it was genuinely a sense of like, oh yeah, we're going to go to town and, you know, buy some, like a booster pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Cool, let's go together, let's do it. And, you know, it was like, and, you know, my parents got on with his parents, and like, it was just, it was honestly like, I feel very lucky that my father allowed me to kind of enjoy and play games and didn't necessarily, I'd say shame is not is too strong of a word, but he didn't like see it as a hobby. He saw it as like an actual thing that I enjoyed, like a passion, like almost like reading books or whatever. And he allowed that because it then shaped the character of who I am today in regards to just the creativity, the fun, you know, because again, that moment was so lovely. Honestly, World of Warcraft, man. It was one of my dreams as well. Like, I remember for a very long time, even leading up to, I think, coming from, you know, secondary school, going into drama school, there was a moment of me, I remember thinking like, all I need is just my own place once I've finished all my education. And the first things I'm going to do is going to get a coffee machine, World of Warcraft account, and a pinball machine. And that's my place.
Why was it pinball? What kind of pinball machine though?
To be honest, it would have. I think it would have been like a classic sort of, maybe like an Addams Family sort of.
Oh my God, I was just going to say Addams Family. I had this guy. So I grew up in a community. I was not from a wealthy family at all, but I grew up in a community where I went to school with a lot of wealthy people. And like prom night, you know, we'd go downstairs into his basement. He had an Addams Family pinball machine. It's just, what was it about that pinball machine?
It's just great.
So well
cool.
made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I honestly, I think for me, oh man, like, I mean, I don't think I could get away with it now, but there is an element of me that's like, oh man, I wouldn't mind a pinball machine in the house. There's something so cool about it.
I know. We look up prices every now and then.
Oh, do you?
Like, can we justify it? Can we do it?
Now?
Where are we going to put it? I don't know. Yeah. The dream is still alive.
Still alive. That's good.
One day. But yeah, was your dad ever like tempted? Did you ever get your dad to make his own character or?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He couldn't. No. There was a moment, you know, I think when I was growing up, he was interested to hearing the stories and stuff, and like me talking to him about it. He wouldn't play a game though. I think he was more of the mentality of watching rather than necessarily of like actually actively playing. I think he enjoyed the idea of this has been crafted through zeros and ones. Like it's really interesting.
That technical achievement.
Yeah, because he was a software engineer himself. So he appreciated the art of it all. But I don't think it was something that he would have partaked in, you know?
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that. My mother-in-law is very much the same, but it's like, it's just, he could still see it in you and still respect it in you. And you talk about it a lot actually in My Shoes, Your Feet, which was incredible. And also the fact that Ridley Scott,
I know.
like Ridley Scott produced, like that's amazing. But I loved the passage of you saying how he wasn't very spiritual, whereas you are very spiritual. And you can definitely feel that between sort of his respect for games and your respect for games. Because it's like you're so much of the like fantastical, you know, mystical side, whereas he's like looking at it from
like
this
a very cerebral, logical sort of.
Yeah.
And it's like, the thing is, I think for him, it's a bit like music. You know, he loved music, but he wouldn't play an instrument. Whereas like I love music and I wanted to learn how to play an instrument, you know, and like, then that's the thing. So it's like, I think there is an appreciation and love there. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like you can both have that balance between the two of you. And I think that actually creates even more collaboration, which I'm guessing you've probably found building your team with Surgeon Studios as well.
I mean, for me, I'm a big fan of, again, I've always said this from the get-go, companies are a company of people.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about the people that you have and the people that you surround yourself with. In the same way that, you know, it's the community factor that will always affect your take on something or your feel on something. And something that was really important for me for building Surgeon was to surround myself with people who not necessarily are like-minded, but appreciate and love, you know, the sort of the passion and the art of video games, because then that's where the magic cooks. Because with them not being like-minded or maybe having a differing opinion on something, you then can have different perspectives on elements of creativity. So that is something that, you know, I've been really happy with our team. They're such a great team. I love them to bits.
Yeah. Moving along, I guess maybe this kind of plays with the sort of your exploration of like the sort of more analytical, because Gary's mod. So how much of it did you, like, I know you said that you've done a lot with your friends.
Yeah.
Did you build much in it? Or
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you get on with building stuff in Gary's mod?
Terrible. It was terrible. You know, the thing about Gary's mod, right, is I don't even know if it classes as a game, right? It's an add-on to so I'm a big fan of Half-Life. Half-Life is great, you know, and I there's my mate Dom, who's actually at the studio now, who's my writing partner. We used to play Gary's mod a lot. Yeah. Right. And that was through the love of Half-Life. And so we used to just screw about on Gary's mod all the time. Just build silly places, build cool spaces. It was just a place to hang, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then, a bit like what's going on with like Minecraft and Roblox and all this sort of stuff, the servers, right? So I used to play on servers, but it wasn't like, you know, short kind of games. It was this server where it was essentially like a role-playing server where you're role-playing within the world of Half-Life, essentially. So it was like an online Half-Life game, right? Yeah. And it was run by a really cool community, and it was really, really awesome at the time. And me and my mate were just like, it was just cool. It was just very, actually, when I look back at it, I'm like, God, that was actually really structured, like how they did it. Like, it was very impressive. But like, Gary's mod was one of those ones as well that I would say it accentuated or further strengthened my love for an online community of friends and players that are now even my friends today. Yeah. Like, in fact, you know, I even say, you know, thank you to a lot of them in the game of Zao, because a lot of them were playing Zao in its like early phases before it even was out there, because I'd get their opinions and get their thoughts on it. So like, for me, Gary's mod was, again, one of those ones where that was like my phase of just, you know, kind of screwing around and
breaking
just
things,
making things. It made me fall in love with the idea of a modding community, essentially, because it showed me that the possibilities are endless, you know. And Gary's mod, man.
But it's I think it's like so important, particularly for like, you know, kids and teenagers, to have that free space, that free safe space.
Yeah, like a sandbox.
Yeah, exactly.
To kind of explore and to play. And I think like for me, again, like it really kind of boosted my creativity, I feel, especially on a technical level. Like made me feel like, oh, this is really cool. And you get an idea of what physics are and all this sort of stuff, and kind of playing with, you know, different characters, posing them in different ways. And you kind of think of like, and I think at the time I was also, you know, me and my friend are very much into film and you know, that kind of element. So we were almost making like our own sort of scenes with Gary's mod. In fact, here's a crazy one. Tales of Kenzera, some of the cutscenes were first staged in Gary's mod.
Love it.
I just remembered that. That's insane. Yeah, we use Gary's mod
as like a rehearsal space.
As like a rehearsal, like literally as you know, we do our a storyboard in Gary's mod. Yeah. God, I completely forgot about that. But
that's great though. Like what an opportunity to have a space like that. And I think like that's something that I try to stress to other parents, of that thing of like, you know, when they're looking for educational games, that essentially is an educational game.
Yeah, it
like
is.
That's the amount of like ideas that you can practice.
Yeah.
in that space. So beneficial.
Yeah. God, completely.
Will those ever be released though?
No. Absolutely not. Never in a million years. No.
Zao, Gary's mod version.
I know. To be honest, I'd probably pay for it. But yeah.
I think hell, that could be a part of the game design.
Oh,
course,
totally.
You know,
it's the big, like we've got so much now, and this is the thing that I love about the industry to a degree, in the sense that it's so accessible, and there are so many things that can, bring the love for coming into the industry.
Yeah.
Because of all these really cool games that exist, like Gary's Mod, or even like the modding community of Skyrim, or like you look at like the modding community of Fallout, for example, and it's powerful, man. You're building artists like through a game.
I mean, were you even like told before you started playing with it in that way that like people have done that with like storyboarding? Let's just do it.
No, let's just do it. We were just like, how do we
how do we make this look the way we want to make it?
Yeah, because me and my mate couldn't draw, and the artists were too busy. So like we were just like, all right, we
gotta figure this out. We gotta put it down somewhere.
You've got an idea.
To be fair, I do that with my house.
Right.
Like I do it in The Sims.
Right.
I'll build my house.
You'll build your house in The Sims, and then
I'll practice colors, practice like furniture arrangement.
That's really interesting. Because again, it's like, and again, these are spaces that are risk-free, right? So you can just, you don't have to purchase something and try it out and be like, oh, and then you got to return it.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like the amount of money I've saved.
There you go.
I mean, I have still wasted money, but we're going to ignore that.
You save probably more.
I've saved some too.
Yeah, I get that.
But just like, like this place to practice and be free and be a kid, essentially. So that leads us back as well to getting the role of Bayek, like sort of that feeling of getting that type of role and like having that be yours.
It was, again, I cannot express to you how magical and great it was. I even to this day say like it was one of the best calls. It was like the audition process was a lot. It was a lot easier than Raised by Wolves. Raised by Wolves, I had like 9 rounds, whereas with Assassin's Creed, I think it was 2. But it was still the most stressful of waiting to hear whether I got it or not.
Yeah.
It was like the 2 weeks were the longest 2 weeks of my life, waiting after the audition and waiting to hear whether I got it or not. And the feeling cannot be trumped. Even even being in House of the Dragon, like I love House of the Dragon, don't get me wrong, it's amazing, it's great, and it's like it's such a cool show and cool place to be in, right? Getting the Assassin's Creed role was still to this day that feeling. It will never be trumped.
I was in university when the first one came out, Assassin's Creed 1, and I still remember even at the time, like it's weird how you just watch a trailer for something and you just sort of think like this game is just going to open up so much.
I know, right?
The fact that you can climb a building
was
just so
cool,
innovative and fun. And then the fact that like we're so many years on now, and we're like, and it's still that electricity of Assassin's Creed is still there. Was there like, in terms of motion capture, was there like any challenges that you had with it, or?
I found it really liberating. I found it actually still to this day, like performance capture and motion capture is very much a liberating process, because it challenges you as the actor to be a kid again, because nothing looks like it's. You have to ride on imagination.
Yeah.
Normally, with like on TV, film, or even at the stage, you've got something that resembles, either an ashtray or a chair or a table. Like these are your anchor points if that's how it looks like. Whereas with motion capture, nothing looks like ancient Egypt. You've got no idea. So you have to really pull from that place of being the kid and being like, I can see the pyramids of ancient Egypt. This stick is my sword. Like you've got to pull this stuff from your mind. And as an actor, that's like really fun.
Oh my
because
gosh,
it's like, this is my sword. It isn't a sword that was created by props or anything like this. This is actually my sword.
Yeah.
It feels great. So I would say like, but there was, some actors do find that quite challenging. So I would say that those weren't really necessarily my challenges. I'd say like they were my, you know, my
those were just what
enjoyment
you
of it.
loved of
Yeah,
it.
I loved about it. I'd say the, you know, the one thing that definitely was challenging was when you're, because doing the voice work and doing the sort of the recordings of of all the voiceover lines for Bayek, be it either in performance capture or in the booth, I feel like we had to almost push it a bit, which is a bit annoying because there is, you know, you now look at like the level of what Last of Us have done and you know, and even with Hellblade, where it's almost filmic, the acting, because the tech allows you to kind of go that far. Oh my
gosh, yeah.
And it's like, and that's what I wish we could have done a bit more with Assassin's Creed. But again, I had a great time with it.
Yeah, we're just living in the evolution of everything.
This is it.
Freaking Kojima's collection of people.
Oh my God. Wow.
Just collection of
My
people.
guy is like literally pulling everyone under the sun. It was insane. At the Game Awards when I was announcing, and I was backstage.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I was backstage at the time. And I'm seeing on the screen Jordan Peele and Kojima on stage. And I'm like, huh? Like, I would have never in a million years thought of this pairing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And I'm like, wow, this guy really is collecting people like bingo cards. Like, he's literally just ticking them off.
I enjoy it. I enjoy the fact that, like, these two worlds are finally feeling like they're getting validation from each other, like film and games, because I feel like for a long time we've been separate. And, like, with things like The Last of Us, it's been getting us closer, I think, to that sort of synonymous thing of respect from both communities. But I do feel like this incorporation of including like very talented directors in the creative process of game development has been such a push forward for.
Yeah, it comes down to, and this would be it, and what I believe anyway within the film and TV space and game space, it's about respecting story. Like it truly is. It's about the power of storytelling and what you can do as a medium. And I think like for me, and from what I've, from my experience of what I've learning, put it this way, Last of Us is a great example. My team, bar like maybe like one or two agents, had no idea what The Last of Us was.
Wow.
They were like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
Like, this show's come out, it's doing really, really well. The story's great. Like, this is amazing. This is really cool. And I'm like, I've lived with this world for like 10 years, gone through the controversies of like, of Abby and all this sort of stuff. Like, I was in there.
I've been in it.
I've been in it.
Yeah.
So it was very like, I think like with the film industry in particular, they are realizing that yes, games can tell stories and can move people and can actually take you on a journey. And I feel like there's a respect for that. Whereas beforehand, I think the narrative was, oh yeah, games you just turn on to kind of like kill people and then you turn it off. And there's a lot of toxicity and kind of weird negativity there. And with film, it's very closed off. A lot of the time it's very internal, whereas games feels very much community driven, which it should be, and it's good in that front, but then people get scared of that, you know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like, we're entering a phase now where we're finding the respect for storytelling a lot more powerful and respect for the medium that tells the stories. And that's what connects us here. And this is no shade on Kojima, I love the guy, but like, don't give me a walking sim of a film, right? If you want to make a film, make a film, right? And if you want to make a game, also make a game. But like, if you want, there is a sense of basically, and this is just again my opinion. If you're going to give me a game with a powerful story, at least give me a game and have the story come in afterwards, right? And have that story come in. You can make it in tandem too, but let's look at the game, right? Yeah. In the same way with film, like you should lead by the visual storytelling rather than necessarily trying to hit the zeitgeist, right? And I think that there is a respect for the artists who see that, within all mediums, you know, be it either you're a painter or a game developer or a musician or a director.
Yeah.
It's all about respecting the medium, but also having a love for story.
Yeah.
And having that story respect the medium in which you're telling it in.
So true. One of my friends, Bryn, they always say, why does this need to be a game? Which I think is so powerful.
And that's where you start.
Why does it need to be a game?
And that's where you start. And I think, and even with film, and even with writing, anything, you always start with, why am I in the perspective of this character? Like, why do I have to, and why at this specific moment? And that's with anything creative. You always have to start with that question of why this or why.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to have the answer there.
Yeah.
You can find it, but always keep asking it until you get the answer, you know?
Yeah. And I find that works a lot with Zhao.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
the challenge of grief.
And this is it. And it's funny, like with Zhao, there was a moment I remember where we were discussing and debating whether we start with, you know, Zhao with his parent, and like, you know, we get the relationship with the parent and we kind of fall that, and then we go into the whole journey of it all. But it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, it's about this kid who is suffering and going on the journey.
Yeah.
That's where you want to get into it. That's where you start. Generally, that's where I felt like my journey of grief started. You know, obviously, was after losing my father.
Yeah.
It didn't start when I was, you know, when he was alive and everything,
Yeah.
and even when he was, you know, going through cancer. It didn't start then. It started after he passed.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, it was like, you know, with Zhao especially, we start with this kid summoning the god of dead.
Yeah.
To go on this journey.
Start with the anger. Start with the trial.
Just the trial. Just the confusion. Just the sense of.
Because it's such a wave of it. Because you never, as much as you know it's coming, it doesn't.
You're never prepared.
No.
And it will. And this is the other thing as well. Because I'd lost actually quite a few people during the process of this game, be it either through COVID or just because my family's huge. Like, it's just a thing, right? And some people you expect, some people you don't.
Yeah.
But the strongest factor, or the strongest thing that kind of, you know, kind of it's always true, is that you are never ever prepared for that loss.
No.
No matter whether they are sick, old, you just never are ready for it. And I think like that was something that, you know, again, I feel whenever we start a journey of grief in games, I feel anyway, or even in some, you know, film and TV, there's always this sense of sadness. Yeah. Whereas actually for me, it was almost like, it was just confusion of like, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is weird, but I'm just going to keep going forward and figure something out. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's sort of where Zhao is. He starts with this mentality of like, well, okay, this has happened, but I'm going to reverse it.
I really identified as well with your mention of like numbness.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize until like not too long ago, because I was originally going to be like, that was what I was going to do. I was going to be an actor. It was going to be fine. But I felt like this weird numbness for ages.
Right.
And I didn't realize it until after I had like kind of got married, had the kids and stuff. And then I was just like, oh my God, I was actually numb. And I think you've said that before as well. You had experiences where like you were just reading through the brief.
Yeah, pretty much.
You were just going through the motions.
Yes, pretty much. It was like on autopilot. A lot of, you know, people are coming to me and saying like, I didn't realize how much I have been emotionally affected because of the fact that I've just been like, cool, I'm just going to soldier on. Just keep going. Yeah. You know, and it is because it's shock. Yeah. Essentially, and you go into survival mode, and it was something that I felt for a good three years of just being like, cool, all right, just moving on forward, let's just keep going.
Yep, things still have to be made.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Things, yeah, exactly. You just have to keep going. This is it's terrible, but hey ho, like life moves on, and I didn't really necessarily give myself that chance of like, well, actually, you know what? I'm actually not very good. Yeah.
You know? Like I'm actually not okay right now.
I need to probably process that. But yeah, it's the numbness is a thing, and this is the other thing, right? It's like it hits you at different times. Sometimes my journey of it was, it took a while Some people it hits them like that. And it's like, it's so different. And you can never, I guess, just can't prepare for it, man.
So one of the things with your role in Assassin's Creed was the BAFTA breakthrough, which is also kind of a nice thing that's connecting the film world with the games world. I think I was a member all this year, and I've really loved like what BAFTA are doing to try and really support games, you know, and like, what was it like to be a part of the BAFTA breakthrough?
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And it's funny, like, again, I had applied for the breakthrough. I think it was through Jamestown, and you know, the TV show that I did, which I had like a series regular in, and you know, I thought that this was it. And funnily enough, it was Assassin's Creed. That essentially they were like, no, this is the one.
Yeah, this is the like, I know that you did all this.
I know you did this TV
I know you were Pedro.
Yeah,
I know you were amazing.
I know you're great. It's fine what it is, but like,
but it's when you were an assassin.
This is the one.
Yeah.
And I was like, great. Okay,
it's funny how the universe knows what's your right time.
I know,
sometimes.
man. I know. It's very weird. It's
but
very weird. But like, it was great, and I think like, and you know, I think the beauty about what BAFTA do and what they champion art.
Yeah.
Like, they actually see the art of it all, and they champion that again, unapologetically. Like, the amount of times I remember, you know, you'd watch the awards and you'd be like, really, that one?
Yeah.
And then
Vampire Survivors.
Oh
what?
my God. The people were like, what? But then, you know, I loved Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
I was addicted to this game. It was incredible. It was so good. And that's what I mean. But like, when you really dive into it more, you can actually see the sense of it. Yeah. And like, that's why I really love BAFTAs, because again, it's like, you've got the jury are mainly, you know, people from everywhere. Yeah. From all walks of, you know, different, you know, of life and whatever. And they literally are just, because I've been a jury. Yeah. And you realize in this room, you are championing excellence and artistry. Yeah. And you're not picking the fan popular or whatever. You're literally looking at
your view.
And it's so amazing. And it's like, and you know, the chair of these juries as well are always saying, look, we're looking at this. We're looking at this. We're looking at this. And you can feel that, you know, you can really feel that. And even at the awards, look at the awards, man. Like, the awards are like, it's for the developer. It's for the artist. So the being part of the breakthrough program was brilliant, because not only did it again give me a boost of confidence of like, hey, I've actually got a voice here, and you know, I'm respected for it. Yeah. But it also gave me access to so many other cool developers and cool people that allowed me to not only learn what it meant to start a studio, but also to build a team. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Getting back to games. Golden Sun.
Oh, what a game.
So what got you into Golden Sun? When did you first like hear about it?
Yeah, I mean, again, it was one of those random games my dad bought me. Yeah. And on the Game Boy Advance. Yeah. And it was, again, I'm taking my Game Boy Advance everywhere with me.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Well, it was so compact.
It was just perfect.
Yeah.
It was perfect. And I look back and I'm like, how did my eyes not get damaged with looking at this screen? But like, Golden Sun was a game which, again, it was like my first sort of, probably like my first into the whole, like, you know, long sort of JRPG sort of vibe about it, you know, turn-based sort of thing. And, you know, that mixed with the story again. I think it was all about friendship. And again, I think, like, I look back at it now, it's not to make this a therapy session, but I find like, I made a lot of friends through games than I have done, you know, just normally, right? And I think like that, there was something about this kid who goes on this journey, meets these like djinns and sort of has these cool powers and makes friends along the way, and each friend has their own kind of character to them. And then the music as well was great. It's always about the music.
Oh my God,
So yeah, I think Golden Sun was just, again, this intro to a universal world that teleported me. Every time that we were on a long journey, you know, to London to see family, or going, you know, abroad as well. Like it was just something that transported me into a world that I felt safe in a way, that I could explore and kind of dive into. It was, again, one of those games which I wanted to get like all the best equipment on, come up to the highest level to then fight the final boss, which was ages and long to fight and lots of strategy. And it was really kind of, like I look back at it and it's probably a very unbalanced game, but at the time it's fine as what it is. It's the challenge of it all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say like Golden Sun again, it further strengthened my love for the power of games as a way of escaping and a way of sort of falling in love with the worlds that have been conjured and created by developers. Again, at the time, I didn't even know that people made these games. No. These were just experiences that I would, like a book in a way. You don't really, the writer, but it's just a book of a world that you can kind of jump into, right? It was just something that I just fell in love with as a kid that I could take with me and still find a way of escaping in, like a book.
It's kind of the reason why, like, getting back to sort of Blockbuster is why I miss those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like the accessibility of just being able to go into space and just pick up whatever game you wanted.
And at a decent price.
Yeah.
I think that's
I tried so many games.
Yeah, so many. And there's something different about actively going somewhere, picking it up and putting it in your system. Yeah. You didn't have this access to like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of games.
I love it.
It's good. But it's the Netflix effect. It's the sense of like there's just too much option.
Yeah.
And like you end up just kind of being like, and it makes it harder in a way. And I feel like actually with the beauty of what Blockbuster did, God rest his soul.
I know.
It was like it was one of those ones where you could genuinely fall in love with something and form a decent opinion over something. Over time, because you had to spend time, because that was the only thing you had. You know what I mean?
I am stuck.
You know what I mean?
With this game.
Exactly. I'm stuck with it. I've rented it for 5 days or like, a week.
I gotta give it a proper go.
Gotta give it a go.
Did you have a favorite character?
To be honest,
or is it just kind of like the whole ensemble?
It was just the whole ensemble. I think that was what was really cool about it. It was the ensemble. I think it was the Fire Djinn though that I really, really liked.
The Fire Djinn.
The Fire one. The Fire Djinn was like, it was great.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. But I think like as well, one of the things I do really love about Zao is that like, and I think you've carried a lot of your knowledge of these games that you've played over time into a lot of the design choices. But I love the relationship between Zao and Kalunga. Like I love it. I'm obsessed with it because like, I mean, I loved Nier. Like the relationship between Nier and Grimoire Weiss is just it's great. So good.
Yeah,
the little
really
quips.
Good. Really well written, really well done. Yeah.
And I really feel that with Kalunga and Zao.
Right.
Like I really feel that like energy and the cleverness of the like sort of exchanges between the two of them.
It was important to capture that element and essence of, again, these characters as being characters, that being human in a way, or a god as well. Like it was really important to, because those are the moments that you share, that those shades come about, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
And it's really funny because the way that kind of worked was me and my mate Dom, we had so many ideas about how we wanted to do this and how we wanted to play this, but we had to wait on the level design, and so the level design had to play, and then we'd have to see how fast Zao could get from A to B or wherever. And we'd have to test the fastest route or the slowest route, right?
Oh my gosh.
And so we would time it and be like, right, this is the moment that we can have like something in here, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And like, oh, this is the moment that we can play with this. And, even like there's the bit where Kalunga goes like, Zao, you're sweating. And then Zao's like, you're more than welcome to try. We were like, great, he can say this because he's pushing a block. So it will take his time doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun finding those moments to develop the characters a lot more and develop their relationship a lot more, because it was important. Because again, at the end of the day, and again, from my journey of grief, it was what I had learned is that it's all about relationship.
Oh my gosh.
It's about the relationships that you have around you. Yeah. The relationships that, you have with yourself. Like that is essentially something that, again, you learn about as you're on this journey of grief, that I really wanted to kind of show with Zao and Kalunga.
Yeah. No, they're really, really great. Yeah, they're really, really great characters, great relationship between them. And then moving on to your last game, which holy F, this game, like, Hellblade. Like, it's just, what were your emotions going through this experience?
So I discovered Hellblade after it got nominated and won all the awards, because I was nominated at the same time. And it just, I was witnessing in real time this game that I hadn't really thought about or really heard about just clean up.
Yeah.
And what ended up essentially happening was I was like, right, I've got to give this game a shot.
Yeah.
I've got to just see
Everybody's
what this
talking
is about.
about it.
Everyone's talking about it. This game is cleaning up awards. There seems to be like an emotional element to this thing.
Yeah.
What is this? And I remember playing it, and it was one of the first time that I've ever played a game where I've had to put the pad down and put it off because it was a lot.
Wow.
It was a lot emotionally. It's not a very, technically sort of complex game. It's very simple in its design, but emotionally, it took me somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think the power of like what that was able to do again was something that I have not felt for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I do genuinely believe like that's why this game was just because it moved people on such an emotional level.
Yeah.
The performances, the story, just everything. They were daring, they were bold. And I think like, even with starting out by saying like the more you the more you die, the bigger the rock gets, and then your save will be deleted.
Yeah.
That's bold, man.
Yeah.
But the feeling that created,
The stakes.
Yeah. Which is essentially representative of in reality the stakes of mental health and the mental illness or that we're going through. It was just so good. And again, it was this whole thing of like, because I remember talking to Meme about it afterwards, and because he was actually also one of the first people I asked about when it came to starting a game studio, like what advice to do. And he was also very much the mentality of like, don't do it. But
I love it. It's just like don't.
Just don't do it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like I remember talking to him about it, and it was this sense of like, this is like a game where he just artistically he felt like he needed to do it.
Yeah.
He wanted to do it. It was him through and through. The darkness of it all, the sort of just the daring boldness of it all. He was just like, you know what? This is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. And that's art, essentially.
It's art, man. It really is. And like I think, and that's again why Hellblade is one of those games where it just brought this feeling in me that I hadn't felt for a very long time.
Yeah.
For a very long time. And it moved me on such an emotional scale where, funnily enough, like the gameplay didn't matter.
No.
It really didn't. Like it did, the gameplay did its job. It did its thing. Yeah. But ultimately, it just took me on such an emotional journey that it was, it's hard to ever replicate that. Yeah.
Getting back to sort of this idea of game design, like I think that is a key thing that I always carry, is that like the game design doesn't have to be crazy.
No, it doesn't.
Have to be. It has to play. It has to play well. It has to be fun. It has to be fun.
I think
understandable.
It depends on what you're getting into.
Yeah.
I feel like ultimately, again, this is the thing of where again, it's about respecting the medium.
Yeah.
Right. You want to respect the medium.
Yeah.
And the gameplay doesn't have to be complex, but it has to be respectful.
Because like I get a lot of hate about. I get a lot of hate for Love and Near, but it's like, but the storytelling is so good.
But this is it. Some people love the story. Like there are films out there which you could probably talk to someone who's a DOP, like a director of photography, or
and they're like,
a lighting artist. And it's like, it's just terrible. Like
Garbage.
they're breaking the line.
Yeah.
And it's like, but the story's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like that's cool.
Yeah.
And like I think like that's totally fine. And I think, I look back at like the books that there was a book. It was A Cry of Ice Mark, which took me ages to read. But there was something about it that really hooked me and gripped me.
Yeah.
And this was ages ago when I was a kid, and I didn't really know about dyslexia and why it was taking me so long to even just take in words or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, cut to, I say like 2 or 3 years ago, I was like, oh, Cry of Icemark, I remember that book,
Yeah.
and I Googled it, and like some of the reviews on it were like raw, like harsh, like structure was terrible, blah, blah, blah. But I remember as a kid being like, I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
And that's what matters.
Yeah.
That's truly what matters. If you're kind of
Yeah.
coming out of it being like, I actually enjoyed it, that was cool. And sometimes it's fine if people don't enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
But everything is okay, man. And that's
Yeah.
the thing with Hellblade. Like, I feel like someone could turn around and be like, Hellblade is a game that wasn't necessarily like, you know, changing the game in regards to like gameplay wise. Cool.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it affected me on an emotional scale that the hundreds of games that I've played have not been able to do.
Yeah. And that brings us on to talking about Surgeon Studios.
Mm.
And I know, obviously, at the moment, y'all need a break. Y'all need a vacation.
Yeah.
You need self-care days.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like, look,
Yeah.
it's been a week now, technically since launch, and as I said, like it feels like a year.
Oh my gosh.
Like every day has been long
Yeah.
because it's that feeling of like we've done this thing, we've given it out, and now it's everyone's.
Yeah.
It isn't ours anymore, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It is a lot, and I could not be any more proud of the team
Yeah.
that I am now. I'm amazed that we were able to even ship a game, you know, like I remember again when I was starting out, people were saying, look, you're probably not going to ship your first game, or it's not going to happen, and you're not going to get a publisher deal.
It's almost like the skin in your teeth.
like-
And you're just like, I'm going to do it.
So literally, I was like,
anyway.
oh, really? Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do it then. But
Yeah.
yeah, so like, you know, this is the thing. And so I'm in absolute awe. And the thing that I'm enjoying as well is like, I think that awe and that love is just going to continue to grow because it's such an achievement. Like I look back at it like, and I'm like, wow, okay.
It's so fun.
We did this.
Yeah. The
So,
changing
yeah.
between the masks, like
I mean,
how
it's like-
fluid it is.
it's-
I like launch people up in the air and I'm back in my moon phase.
And then
just,
you're
like,
juggling
shooting
them. I love
Great.
that.
I love it. I love that finesse and the feel and you know, jumping from side to side.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, there's so much to love.
I honestly, I'm so proud and so happy of the team of doing it. And
Yeah.
it was such a, and it's funny, even though it was such a personal project and, you know, pulling from a personal place, it didn't, I wasn't worried about that.
Yeah.
In fact, I felt almost empowered by it because
Yeah.
it was like, cool, I've just shown everything I can to you all.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
Yeah.
You know, have at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, I was worried about like whether the team would be happy with it all, and, you know, kind of, you know, and they all are. Like, it's great. We're all just very tired. I mean, it's making art, man. Like,
Yeah.
art is messy. It's beautiful. It's violent. It's a process.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's something that I'm so proud of. In the same way that I think it's like making an indie film.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you know, getting to make an indie film and getting through the process of doing it. It's like, it's a lot,
Yeah.
you know? And yeah, I just, yeah, it's very surreal talking about it now, as
Yeah.
like with it out.
Something so honest.
Yeah.
Connecting it all together.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's like, it's that whole thing of, you know, even when it came to designing the mechanics of the game, you know, we really wanted it to come from an authentic place. And,
Yeah.
you know, as you say, like with the mask switching, that was supposed to represent the idea of the many masks you wear when you're grieving, in the sense of like, you're not going to, you know, you have to, whenever you're in a professional space, you have to
Yeah.
put your professional face on.
Yeah.
When you're in a, you know, a personal space, you put your personal face on. And they're very clear, especially when you're at your weakest.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And, you know, you have to just turn it on. And so that was something that, and you have to do it on the fly.
Yeah.
So like for me, that was what was important about capturing that fluidity on these different characters in a way.
Yeah.
You know, even though we say it's Metroidvania, but it's like, it's more so inspired by it. It's very Metroidvania light in regards to like, it was inspired by this idea of being thrown into something that you have no idea about.
Yeah.
You know, trying to get a sense of it, but the longer you spend time in it, the more comfortable you get with it.
Yeah.
And that's essentially, you know, that's grief.
Yeah.
In the same way as the Metroidvania genre sort of is kind of what it is. So we really were picking and pulling at elements that really resonated with us on that journey to kind of conjure this experience. And that's why I feel really proud of it, because I feel like we didn't want to create something that felt false.
Yeah. Yeah, not something that's just parading around. It's like truly a remix.
Yeah, exactly. And like, and it's funny that, you know, we listed these games. I see now what's happening.
Oh, it's all coming together.
It's all coming together. But like, yeah, like the fact that Kingdom Hearts had that emotional effect on me.
Yeah.
Golden Sun, Hellblade,
Yeah.
World of Warcraft. Like, these are definitely all games that have shaped elements of the studio and how I've wanted to kind of approach things like community. Like, for me, I'm a massive fan of community. I think like there's something to be said about listening to players and getting their feedback to help aid you in making a better experience, because we all want the same thing at the same time, right? We want a good experience.
Yeah.
So it's just about respecting that and be like, cool, okay, let's build on it, you know?
Exactly.
Because again, that's the beauty of games. They're a technical art, so you can always keep evolving it and growing it.
Yeah. It's kind of like a kid.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like a kid. Like with film, like you can do edits and stuff.
But once it's out,
like
it's
not,
out.
yeah,
That's
with
it.
games, it's like,
I mean,
it's a living, breathing creature.
Look at No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
You know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, it just evolves. And I think like, and that's something that I really enjoy. And I'm not going to say like we're going to stick on Zal for like the rest of our life.
Zal forever.
I think my studio would turn on me very quickly.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said about the brilliance of hearing feedback and working on that feedback. And like, again, I look back at the demo. One of the biggest things that I enjoy and love about the demos, two things actually. The first was performance. You know, people were like, it's being a bit jittery on my PC. Like, you know, the frames, like it's not hitting right. And we were like, why is that? And then we investigated, we learned it. We're like, oh, okay, cool. We do it. It comes out. Everyone's like, this is smooth.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And then the other thing was Steam Deck. You know, no idea.
Which is what I'm playing it on.
Oh, well, I had no idea.
It.
I had no idea what a Steam Deck was.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Now I'm like the biggest fan of a Steam Deck.
It's amazing.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so, but that was something, again, that we didn't have planned for.
Yeah.
But we were like, no, we want to get it verified. We want to make it sure that it runs pretty decent on there. Like,
which is very forward thinking.
Let's
like,
do it.
Yeah. The amount of people who are like, it's not uncommon nowadays where I just like say, oh yeah, I played that on my Steam Deck. And they're like, you did what? It plays on the Steam Deck?
You know,
okay, that's fun then. I'm like, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Honestly,
I'll play test it for you.
Blows my mind that I was playing Elden Ring on the Steam Deck.
I played through Baldur's Gate 3.
Really?
And I said to Sven, I was just like, oh, I played through on the Steam Deck. And he's just like, did it break a lot? And I'm like, Act 3 maybe. He's like, it's that guy. It's like that guy over there. That was it. That was who it was. That's who's responsible for that. I'm like, well, I still played it. Like my Steam Deck, it kind of has this moment where it just gets really overheated and then starts breaking down. And I'm like, oh, it's okay, baby. And I just kind of shut it down, say, okay, it's enough for right now.
Yeah, exactly. Just take your time. Just take your time.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it so much.
So this is it. So that's why, you know, the community aspect of like World of Warcraft, we really wanted to kind of reflect that in the studio and build upon that, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing though. But yeah, I mean, our last question is always, what do your gaming choices say about you?
Yeah. I think again, I think I'm very emotionally driven.
Yeah.
You know, I think there was a teacher at drama school, and I've said this before, but like I had a teacher at drama school who gave me some really good advice, who essentially said, whatever work you do or whatever you put out there, you've always got to think of you've got two different types of people in the audience. You've got the one person who's seeing this for the first time ever, and who's never thought of going to a theatre play before, or it could be a kid, it could be just someone who's just never had the experience to go to theatre, and you got that person in the audience who's sitting there and thinking, okay, what's this about? So you want to hit them.
To them.
You want to speak to them. You want to show them like, hey, maybe you should do this a bit more often, right? But then you've got the other person in the audience who's seeing it for the last time. Yeah. Because they don't know what's going to happen, you know. And I remember, and I can really distinctly remember my father's last like thing where he saw me in, which was a play at drama school, which was I had a very small part in. But I remember at the time I didn't think about it, obviously.
No.
But like now when I look back at it, I'm like, yeah, that was his last play. And that was the last thing you saw me in. And so you've got that person in the audience as well, which you will have. You will always have those two people, even with the game.
Yeah.
Like you'll have the person who's playing the game for the first time or the genre for the first time. And you've got the person who might be, this will be their last experience.
Yeah.
So you've got to cater and hit those two people.
Oh, I love that.
And as long as you get those guys, everyone in the middle will get something out of it.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of, really something that I was, that I've sort of led by. And this is something that I feel with the games that I've even listed to you. Like, these games have had a moment for me. They've moved me in some way, shape or form that has allowed me to sort of grow as an artist and kind of evolve something of me that I've tried to instill in the game as a whole in Tales of Kenzera Zal.
Well, you definitely feel it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh,
this is really amazing.
This has been great.